Hello, Mr. Cropper. Okay, can we just start with a logical idea then? Because I think this is important. You're in my view on this objective reality thing. So I want to start by, can we just agree on the logical premise that if two things, sound like they're contradictory, but there are no material differences in what's really being meant, then there is no real difference, right? So for example, let's say we have a single object. You call it a mallet and intend to pound in pegs with it. I call it a hammer and I intend to pound nails. But it's one hammer. The fact that my intentions are different and I call it something different, maybe because of the intention, maybe because of the words, it's not really a different thing. And even though there's a sense of a difference, like if I take that device, I'm going to use it for one thing. If you take it, you're going to use it for another, and there's a difference in the way it's going to be used, it can still be used either way. And the fact that you're using it one way and calling it one thing with the attitude, it's still just one hammer. And that's basically what we have here with these objective truths. You believe them and I believe them. We're not talking about the things we don't agree. Things that you and I both believe are true. It's just that I'm calling it an excellent approximation. Perhaps even an unassailable approximation. Maybe I'll call it the best approximation ever. Like the predictions of quantum mechanics. Those are the best approximations ever invented by man as far as how many digits of accuracy they have mathematically to measurements. And that's what's going on with this. Okay, now I'm recovering from being sick, so I'm still a little lightheaded. So I'm going to go do something I don't often do. I'm going to use a personal example. We had kind of a shocking event here about a week ago while I was sick. We had people over. They were, just coming over for, just to visit, kind of a weekday visit we have and play pool and some music and stuff. But I was sick. I had a flu and then I had pneumonia. I hadn't been to the doctor yet. I didn't know about the pneumonia, but I was just kicked with the flu. And I was in my room and people were going around the house. And I heard kind of a clang and a thud and a slide and a whack. And then I heard people screaming. And it came into my head that we had like 4 kids over here. That one of them had fallen off the porch. Okay. Now I thought, I had a temperature and I was just having trouble breathing. It turned out when I did go to the doctor, it was either the next day or the day after that, I had an 89% oxygen level. But I had this theory, and I knew it wasn't certain. But before I even thought about it, I was out of my bed. My shot of adrenaline had pumped through my body. And I heard people screaming, a kid is falling off the porch. And before, I don't even remember getting out of the bed. The next thing I remember, I'm like 15 feet away, outside the house, whipping around the corner, going under the porch on the ground floor. Okay. There was no kid there. And I'm screaming, where'd it happen? Because at this point, I heard people say, it's falling. Okay. And I didn't want to step on him. It was dark. And I realized, oh, wait. Maybe he fell off the window. So I kept going around the corner, and sure enough, he's there on the ground below the window. He's fallen out. This kid has fallen out of the second story window. This has happened a week ago. It's amazing. Okay, I'll make the scary part of the story quick. We took him to the doctor. And I was the first one to him. And often, for whatever reason that is, because I have this focus. You talked about focus. See, I have enough focus to act. I didn't need to know that if it had turned out a lamp had fallen out the window, I'm not going to go, oh, dang, I was wrong. I didn't need to wait and figure out. No, I had enough knowledge for action. Okay. Oh, yeah, so the quick story short, we took the kid to the boy, my girlfriend's son, to the hospital, had him CAT scanned. He had absolutely nothing wrong with him. He didn't even have any bruises. As a matter of fact, the doctor gave him, a codeine solution for pain, which he didn't have to take any. He didn't report any pain to us. He'd fallen out the second floor window. We would have just given it to him. It wasn't like we'd go, oh, you shouldn't have those heavy-duty painkillers. I would have assumed he needed them. He didn't report any pain, so it's a miracle or whatever. But I came around the corner. Now, the point is, I did not have to be absolutely certain. For my brain to give me that shot of adrenaline, that in the middle of a flu and pneumonia, gave me all the strength I needed to be the first one around the corner, try to help the kid and protect the kid and see what had to happen with the kid. Um, I didn't need absolute certainty. And I didn't stop to think about it, but of course I knew I knew it was a theory. Like, for example, he hadn't fallen off the porch. But the theory that it had fallen off the porch, because that seemed a lot more likely, a kid climb around on the porch, they shouldn't do it. It was the windowsill, because here in Hawaii, it's this old house, we have a very low windowsill. It's like just above your knee or thigh. And a little coffee table sort of overlapped a little, and he gotten up on there, turned on the fan, sat down on the windowsill, and leaned back before anybody could say, hey, get down from there. And there were people right there, and he leaned back against the screen, and it just opened, and he fell. And, we're all very lucky that he made it through so well. I would have felt lucky if he'd broken an arm and done that. My daughter thought she'd just seen you die falling out the window like that. So, you don't need absolute knowledge to save a child. You don't need to know he's going to die, he's going to drown. You don't need that. You don't need to know it was a child. It could have been an animal. It could have been, which also would have been a tragedy. It could have been a lamp, or it could have been any kind of thing. And the fact I thought he'd fallen off the porch, which seemed more likely, no, that was wrong. See, but it motivated an action that still went in the right direction. It was close enough that he falling off the porch was close enough to falling out the window that, yeah, obviously it was right to run around in there. See, so this is my point. You and I have both these objective facts, and I act just as quickly on them. The idea is that, well, if you're not objectively certain, you won't have the courage of your convictions. No, I act on all this stuff. I feel just as strongly acting on a likely approximation of what's going on, a risk to reward thing. It's like, if there's any chance that, if it's 60%, if it's at all possible that a kid has fallen out of the window, I'm going to run around and look. I don't need absolute certainty. You never need absolute certainty. So that's what I'm arguing, is that you too, in that situation, you wouldn't have been absolutely certain, and you wouldn't have waited to be absolutely certain. Even though you believe absolute certainty is possible, you don't need it either. Okay, and now we get to the difference, though. Where is the difference? Mr. Cropper, you don't need absolute certainty to save a child. Right? You will act on what you do know. And you'll do it quick. And you respect industrialists. And again, they go, you don't have full knowledge. You have to make your hedges and your bets, because time is of the essence. Time is important too. Waiting to be absolutely correct versus time is not, the risk never pays off if you wait forever. So there's got to be some time where you're going to act. And you do not have to wait for absolute certainty. And here, so you and I have the same idea of knowledge. We will both act this way. But let me tell you who does need absolute certainty. Nazis, genocidal bastards, Spanish inquisitors. That's who needs absolute certainty. If you want to justify killing off millions of people, or people you don't know or haven't harmed you indirectly, that's when you need absolute certainty. You don't need it to save kids. You don't need it to clean up water. You don't need it to improve your hygiene. You don't need to know that if you don't wash your hands, you for sure will get typhoid in order to wash your hands and it to be a good thing. You don't have to be absolutely certain about the future, the past, or anything in order to make good judgments. The only thing you need to be absolutely certain for is justifying horrific things, horrific, unjustifiable things. Okay, that's my premise. So you and I have the same kind of knowledge practically. We act on it the same way. A hammer is a hammer, whether you call it a mallet or not. Okay. So it's functionally equivalent for all the practical things we need knowledge for. The only difference is you can use objective knowledge to justify the Spanish Inquisition. And you can't use relative knowledge to justify something that horrific. Okay. You can justify something pretty horrific, but you can't quite go that far without objective knowledge. That's my position.